From our studio in our office at the corner of 8th and Walton in Bentonville, Arkansas, welcome to Saturday Morning Meeting. Brought to you in part by Dun & Bradstreet Credibility Corp., the leading provider of credit and credibility solutions for businesses. Saturday Morning Meeting covers Walmart, Sam's Club, and the consumer product companies that are represented on the racks and shelves throughout the country and around the world. Our focus is on the insights, trends, and best practices to help you as a supplier grow your business with the world's largest retailer. I'm Andy Shook, and thank you for joining us. On today's show, you'll meet two outstanding suppliers. First, Burt Hanna of Hanna's Candles, and then Doug Keller of Infinity Product Group. Now, they'll give you straight talk about their CPG companies, working with Walmart, and some of the challenges that they've faced over the years. But first, the headlines. Ties are strengthening between Walmart and Yahoo, as former Walmart CEO Lee Scott joins Yahoo's board of directors, according to RetailingToday. Current Yahoo CEO Marissa Mayer joined Walmart's board 2 years ago, right before taking the helm at the internet company. Now, after resigning as Walmart's CEO in 2009, Scott continued to serve on Walmart's board until June 6th of this year. Women-owned suppliers will be getting some recognition on Walmart shelves. Bloomberg reports that Walmart has teamed up with two nonprofits, WE Connect International and the Women's Business Enterprise National Council, to create a woman-owned logo for product labels. Now, the project founders hope that consumers who want to support women entrepreneurs will look for the labels while shopping. Associated Press has some bad news about consumer spending. According to the Commerce Department, spending rose 0.2% in May, a far cry from the 0.8% increase we saw in March. Analysts continue to predict a rebound, however, expecting a 3% growth in spending this year. Walmart recently broke ground on a new distribution center in Mankato, Minnesota. Now, according to press release, the distribution center is Walmart's first in Minnesota and will help ensure the delivery of fresh groceries to Walmart stores in the region. Construction began on June 24th, and the distribution center is scheduled to open next spring. Walmart anticipates that the center will employ around 300, mostly full-time workers. School is out for the summer, which can mean hardship for the many children who rely on government-sponsored meal programs. The Walmart Foundation is helping communities bridge this gap by providing $15 million in grants to 6 nonprofit organizations. Now, the funds will be used to provide meals and nutrition education to 1.4 million children and their families. Walmart is also a sponsor of the Eat Healthy Together Challenge, a program that encourages families to eat a healthy meal together at least 3 times a week. Now, a recent survey by Market Force Information indicates that drivers prefer to fill their tanks at grocery stores and warehouse clubs instead of standalone gas stations. CNBC reports that the survey asked participants to rank their favorite gas retailers, and Kroger came in first place, followed by Costco, Quick Trip, and Sam's Club. While customers often visited local gas stations for convenience sake, they also expressed appreciation for the loyalty discounts and low prices available at grocery and warehouse club locations. This week, I talked with Burt Hanna of Hanna's Candles. He is a truly outstanding supplier and one who stands firmly behind American manufacturing. I hope you find our lively conversation helpful to your work. All right, today we're here with Burt Hanna. Burt is the founder of Hanna's Candles, a company born and bred in the USA. With July 8th being Walmart's Made in the USA open call, this is the perfect time to talk with him. Burt, thanks for coming in today.
Glad to be here.
So how did you get started?
I was a college student going to the University of Arkansas, and my goal, Andy, was to make an extra $100 a month.
Wow.
I went to the library and got a book on making potpourri.
So your goals weren't too high?
No. $100 seemed like a lot to me at the time.
Well, I suppose at that time it did.
That's right.
So you started making potpourri.
Well, I went to the library and got a book on making potpourri. And, of course, at the time, there's a woman named Patty Upton who has a company called Aromatique in Heber Springs. And she's always in the Gazette bragging about how rich she is getting. So I thought that was a great business to get into. So me and my wife at the time went to the yard and scraped together pine needles and pine cones and acorns and made the first bag of potpourri and started in the basement of our house.
Really? Wow. So you moved from making potpourri to candles, because that's really what you're known throughout Northwest Arkansas.
Right, yeah.
Yeah, so how did that happen?
Well, I was in the home fragrance business, so fragrance oil is the main body of what makes potpourri smell, and so fragrance oil is also what makes wax smell. So I was using the main ingredient. So one morning I had a customer tell me I need to get in the candle business in 1992, so I got up and went to the local Food for Less and bought 10 pounds of canning wax and took some of that, melted in a pot and put some of that potpourri oil in it and bought some Kerr jars at Walmart in the home department and made my first candles that way.
And the wicks, you found those somewhere?
Yeah, I bought them from somebody like Candlewick, Candlewick, one of the craft supply companies.
So you're really a hometown guy, just kind of starting his business right from scratch and kind of figuring things out. You were saying that you learned all this stuff. Well, back in those days, you had to go to the library because you didn't have the internet.
That's right.
You know, nowadays, I suppose you can go to the internet to find about anything, can't you?
Well, you can, and I spend a lot of time still on the internet, but man, there's nothing like the library, nothing like touching a book.
So at what point did you know that you really had a business? I mean, this was really going to work out.
Oh, you know what? I'm not sure I'm there yet, but I think when I got over 50 million in sales, I started breathing a little easier.
Well, 50 million in sales, but that kind of eroded at some point in time with the economy, didn't it?
Yeah, around 2008, we went from about 50 or 60 million down to 10 million. That was a terrible time in our life.
Wow, 10 million. And what was the reason for that? Just the economy?
Well, a lot of the stuff that we had built our business around, the candles that we had built our business around, really used a lot of wax. And wax went from, say, 30 cents a pound to 95 cents a pound. So our raw materials increased 300% in the course of about 18 months. And man, there's nothing you can do to increase your efficiency to overcome that.
And you couldn't really compete. I mean, as a U.S. company, you really couldn't compete.
You couldn't, worldwide, I was selling a 5-pound candle for $3.50, and my cost of waxing that candle was $5. So there's no way to make that work.
No, there really isn't. So you've really played a great role in Northwest Arkansas as far as creating jobs. And, you know, we're kind of talking about the Made in the USA in America and bringing jobs to Northwest Arkansas. What does that look like over the years?
Well, I'm proud. One of the facts I'm most proud of is the fact that our local payroll has been over $150 million in Northwest Arkansas. So that's bought a lot of houses and cars and sent a lot of kids to
haircuts and restaurants and, I mean, everything, because it really affects all the areas of a town, doesn't it?
Not only that, as property tax alone, I've paid over $6 million in property taxes in the last 15 years. And that sent a lot of kids to school. I'm proud of that. Yeah, you know, it's just microeconomics at its finest. I'm not making any huge, I'm not saving the world with candles, but making just a small dent in a
you provide a lot of opportunities and jobs for a lot of people in this area, which is great.
Try to.
Yeah. So Walmart is putting together this Made in the USA, and they're kind of going after that. Are you benefiting from that? Some of that right now? And are you seeing other suppliers that are benefiting from that?
Well, I don't know about the other suppliers, but we're definitely benefiting from it. And what's really cool about it, Andy, is, man, when I was in the potpourri business in 1990, all my competitors and friends said, you need to go to Mexico and start a potpourri factory.
Right.
A lot of people did that. All those guys are broke now. And I didn't do it. I resisted. I had a wife and kids, and I wanted to raise my family. I didn't want to be
true
gone. Well, that made sense to me.
Yeah.
And all those guys are out of business now. And then in 2000, man, everybody said, you need to start a factory in China or India or both. And I still had a wife and kids and a family to raise, and I didn't want to be gone half the time. And so we just decided to bloom where we were planted, which is Northwest Arkansas. And we put our stake in the ground and just never left and just committed to staying in Northwest Arkansas.
So modularized items is really the life and breath of every company, right? And you have grown that from what to what over the last few years?
Well, being on the modular is the lifeblood of a company, absolutely. Yeah. It's consistent everyday business, and Walmart's a great conduit to the end consumer. So we're very thankful for our shelf space and try to do a good job. And it's just like breathing. It's like air or food.
It is. It's guaranteed shipments every day.
Well, it's not guaranteed. That changes throughout the year.
It does.
Yeah, man, and it changes seasonally. Yeah. And you've got to be smart enough to, well, not smart, experienced enough not to know what your seasons are. It takes you a while to get that dialed in. Yeah. And but we're very thankful for being on the modular, but we're also a promotional supplier at the same time.
So what keeps you up at night?
Oh, man, everything. No, actually, what keeps me up at night, really nothing. I'm tired by the time.
You're tired by the time, because you work so hard, yeah.
No, what keeps me up at night would be, you know what, what's the next new thing? I got to keep up with what's new. Because if you know, people say, it's not Walmart that's so demanding, it's the customer. It's the end consumer. Yeah. She deserves and she demands newer, better, prettier every day, and we've got to be on the cutting edge. It's not Walmart. It's the customer's trained, the consumer, the end consumer. So, and Walmart's a great conduit to reach them, but it's our responsibility to give them the product that gets off of the shelf.
Oh. Well, hey, thanks so much, Burt. I'll be sure to light some candles this weekend. Well, except for I'm going to be doing the Roman candles this weekend because it's 4th of July. Happy 4th of July, folks. Stick around. When we come back, we're going to talk with Doug Keller of the Infinity Product Group. about licensed products. Saturday morning meeting will continue right after this.
Trying to get your product noticed by retailers and customers? Rapid Prototypes in Bentonville can help with packaging, displays, renderings, signage, and much more. They are called Rapid Prototypes for a reason. Rapid turnaround and rapid response time to your needs. Need 2-week turnaround? Easy. Need 2-day turnaround? No problem. Need 2-minute turnaround? Let's talk. At Rapid Prototypes, we're always willing to go the extra mile for you. Rapid Prototypes, across from Cassano's Pizza on Walton Boulevard in Bentonville. Call 479-273-3278.
K-Stack, the leader in collaborative retail consolidation programs. We offer the supply chain expertise needed to navigate the challenges of selling products with the world's largest retailers. And we provide customers with a customizable, scalable, environmentally sustainable supply chain with the same advanced technology typically used by larger rivals. By leveling the playing field, K-Stack lowers distribution costs and increases overall margins. K-Stack, retail logistics is what we do.
I would recommend 8th and Walton to other suppliers because from my experience talking to other suppliers, they were even learning new ideas or just new and better business practices.
Most people have little time for training, and so 8th and Walton is a perfect opportunity to send your new employees to understand the retailing system. And again, because trainers were suppliers, they know the how and the why, so they become very valuable very quickly.
Bentonville Plaza, across the street from the Walmart home office. The best office location offers proximity and services like no other business complex in the area. Call 479-200-1112 today.
Derek Ridenauer talked recently with Walmart supplier Doug Keller of Infinity Product Group. Doug's experience, first as a Walmart employee and then as one of its entrepreneurial suppliers, gives him an understanding of retail that few have. Meet Doug Keller.
And welcome back to Saturday Morning Meeting. We're joined now by Doug Keller. He is the president of Infinity Product Group. Doug, welcome.
Thank you.
I wanted to start off because you came out of Walmart and Sam's Club, spent a number of years there as a buyer, and now it's been a number of years that you've been gone, but you've started your own company. How is it different being on this side of the table?
You know, you're exposed to a lot more of the opportunities that can happen while you're buying the product. You've got everything from product development, you've got the licensing, you've got shipping, you've got getting it into the warehouse, you've got shipping it out of the warehouse, you've got invoicing our customers. So where as a buyer or as an assistant buyer, what I would learn were all the top line things, and you understood how it happened. You know, okay, this is what happens, you know, from me placing the product, and there was 3 months where nothing happened and it just showed up. Now what I see on our side, on the supplier side, is all of the things that go with manufacturing, all the things that go with shipping, all the things that go with invoicing. And you've got all those pieces that are very dynamic that you have to work toward just to meet or exceed the buyer's expectations. So although being in merchandising helped me understand the grand scheme of how all that works, on the side of being a supplier or a manufacturer, you realize that there's 20 different things that have to come together just to meet that ship date.
Well, we see a lot of entrepreneurs that come out of Walmart, people who are buyers or different roles in Walmart. They come out and they start their own companies, much like you've done. Somebody looking to do that, what are you going to tell them?
Cash is king, and watch the cash flow. That's exactly what I would tell them.
So how did you get started with Infinity? I mean, you went out and you did this, but what are some things you did to kind of get started with that?
You know, I'll go back to when I was at Walmart. I took a lot of initiative and a lot of onus on myself to make sure that I learned as much as I could while I was at Walmart. Not knowing that I would go out on my own, but I just knew that, listen, the more I know, the better I'll be at what I do. And once you get into retail, it's either in your blood or it's not. And thankfully, it was in mine because I enjoy what I do. But you know, I think being a buyer, owning what I did, learning as much as I could while I was there has been the biggest benefit that's helped Infinity Product Group be successful.
Now, one of the things that you guys do is the licensing side of it, which is a whole nother layer of complexity because you have to buy those licenses. So it's not like you're just doing CPG and you're making hats, you're making the apparel, and you're able to ship it under your own brand. You're having to go out and secure some licenses as well. How difficult has that been for you to go out and do?
You know what? It's one of those strategies that you have to have a plan for, that you have to go out and understand what are trend licenses, what are lifestyle licenses, how long.
Let's talk a little bit about those. Tell me the difference between a lifestyle and a trend.
A lifestyle brand for us would be General Motors, Ford, Miller Brewing, and a trend license would be, let's call it, oh man, there's been so many of them. I'm not going to say Duck Commander because I think there's a grassroots following there, but a trend license might be a candy brand that just came up. It was one time, you ship it in, you ship it out, and you're done with it. But those have to be part of the stable of brands that you have. But as apparel goes through cycles, it's right now it's kind of a low trend license cycle. But those are all things you've got to be cognizant of. But we, no pun intended, we hang our hat on the lifestyle brands.
Now you have about 25 people that work for you here locally, and this is where your corporate headquarters is. Let's talk about the struggles of being a small company, kind of a small startup, and I know you guys have moved a little bit beyond that, but you're certainly not at the level of a P&G or Unilever, who have much bigger pockets. You talked earlier about cash being king. What are some of the struggles that you've had as a small supplier that you've had to overcome?
Some of the struggles are that you have to, in a small company, you've got to make sure that the job gets done, and if something gets put on your desk, and all of our associates are the same way. When something comes to their desk, and it might not be part of what they were hired to do, or the scope of what they do every day, you don't bring it back and say, that's not my job. Right. Our mentality is, if it comes to me, it's something that needs to get done, and I'll do it. And I think that's one of the strong suits of Infinity, because we always make sure to get the job done, and we focus in, we're a team, we get out and get after it and get it done.
One of the things I've heard from smaller suppliers is it's very difficult to get some of the buyer meetings. I mean, you're meeting them once, maybe twice a year when you do line review. Has that been problematic for you? I mean, again, coming out of Walmart, you almost think you have a leg up because you know the people that you can call and do that. But let's talk about the struggles you've had in just that area.
I will say, so right now we service Walmart, we service Dollar General, Target, a lot of different customers. With Walmart, their time, the buyers have so much to do, their time is precious, and they've got 10-hour days ahead of them every day. What we've really learned to do is only go meet for a scheduled appointment when it's necessary. If you're doing a big line review, if you've got to be nimble and quick, and I don't have a problem. We do it all the time. We'll meet back in the front of the lobby, or we'll meet in the back of the layout center because we're dropping off samples, and we can get what you can get face to face. You can get more accomplished in a 30-second meeting as opposed to a scheduled 30-minute meeting. So we don't have a problem because we're pretty flexible, and we go in with a clear, concise, this is what we need, this is what we're doing. Here's how we can help you drive sales. Here's what we see in the market. There's 4 or 5 things that you need to talk about, and the rest is,
How important have your relationships been in your success?
I think relationships are always important, but I think what's more important is being able to execute on what you say you can.
So one thing to know somebody, it's another thing to fulfill those promises and get all the way through.
You know somebody, you can get in the door, but again, just like manufacturing, okay, that's one piece of it. Now you've got to execute on the other 99% of the things. And I'll say if it was only about going and making the sale, we could be doing $1 billion in sales, because that's the easy part. It's getting the product sourced, getting it produced, getting it approved, passing CTL, shipping it, having the routing guide, understand, all the complexities of, how to get the product to the store. And it is complicated, and I think that's one of the issues that a lot of, even some of the bigger companies still have issues with, is making sure they can fit everything in the guidelines.
Okay, I want to talk more about that. We're going to take a quick break. We'll be right back as we continue our conversation with Doug Keller from Infinity Product Group on Saturday Morning Meeting.
GigWalk is an on-demand mobile workforce that can collect data and do work at retail. Businesses use GigWalk for retail audits, merchandising, and much more. With 350,000 smartphone-enabled workers available on demand, you get unprecedented speed and coverage across the U.S., Canada, and the U.K. And all work is reviewed for quality and accuracy. Visit gigwalk.com to learn more.
Every day, shoppers are bombarded with traditional brand messages outside the store in hopes that these marketing dollars will drive in-store sales. Closure Media drives retail sales by connecting brands with 95 million Walmart shoppers per year while they are in the store. Through innovative programs at Walmart's photo and money centers, Closure Media converts Walmart shoppers to purchasers of your brand. With reported redemption rates up to 7 times the national FSI average, Closure Media drives sales. For more info, visit us at closuremedia.com.
Bentonville Commerce, less than 1 mile from the Walmart home office. You'll love the convenience, amenities, and customized options Bentonville Commerce offers. For more information or a tour, call 479-200-1112 today.
And welcome back to Saturday Morning Meeting. We are continuing our conversation with Doug Keller from Infinity Product Group. But Doug, before we went to break, we were talking about getting on the shelf is really easy. It's everything that comes after that replenishment order comes in. So let's kind of go through some of the complications that you've had as Infinity Group, but that other suppliers do as well.
Sure. You know, I think it starts with making sure that the expectations are set very clear with the supplier and the buyer. Everybody would, I think, always say, oh, I want to have this stuff in 3 months. If it's not reasonable, don't set yourself up for failure right off the bat.
If you're doing direct import, it's sitting on the water for 3 months.
You know what? It'll sit on the water for 30 days. By the time you get it received, it clears customs. There's just always some things and some factors that you've got to be aware of. And I think the first thing is making sure you set clear expectations. And most of the buyers understand that, and they do that very well. But on the sales side, I make sure and tell our people, don't set yourself up for a failure. Make sure we can deliver what they ask for. And there's nothing wrong with telling them that's not really reasonable, but here's what we can do. Like we were talking about, when you've got great relationships, you can go in and you can work things out, and you can be very honest and transparent with the buyers. And I think that's what Walmart does a great job with, communicating to the suppliers. Tell me the truth. Tell me what you're going to do. Tell me what's going to happen. We know there's going to be, you know, bumps in the roads and things that happen, but don't wait till the day before the ship date to tell me these. You knew it wasn't going to meet the ship date 30 days prior before it got on the vessel. So let's talk about it 30 days prior, so we can plan and we can, you know. I think one of the things that I tell all of our people is, you know, execute Plan A, but don't be afraid to initiate Plan B. I mean, that's. Plan A is great when it works, but you're successful most of the times because you're able to deal with the information that you get and react to it. And the information I have today is, in retail, it's different than it was a week ago. Right. So,
and it's easier for a smaller company to be nimble,
absolutely,
and move than it is for the bigger boys.
Yes.
As you talked about that, a couple of years ago, obviously Walmart moved, or several years ago, I guess, Walmart moved all of their apparel buyers to New York, which would have made those face-to-face conversations far more difficult, or at least far more expensive for someone like you who's headquartered here. Right. How difficult was that whole transition for you?
It was very difficult. Walmart's an important customer for us. We enjoy working with Walmart. But when they moved to New York, it became very dysfunctional, and it became dysfunctional at Infinity, and it was also dysfunctional at Walmart, and it was very difficult to get. Everything happens at the speed of retail when you're in retail. It was very difficult to get the answers that you needed in a timely manner, and I think that was one of the internal struggles that Walmart had also, was trying, being able to collaborate, being able to get with product development, get into merchandising, get into the buyer, get into the planner, get into, the logistics team. It was just, all of that has to come together, and I think when they spread it out, well,
there's a lot to be said for face-to-face communication. Absolutely. I know when I was there, I could do more walking to the cafeteria than actually sitting at my desk typing up emails and phone calls. Let's talk about a mistake that you've made as a supplier. I mean, you've been doing this for a number of years now. Obviously, you haven't made all the right decisions, but what are some of the key mistakes that you've made that you've certainly learned from and will not make again?
I think one of the biggest mistakes that I've seen as a merchandiser, but I've seen on our side, don't fall in love with your own product. Numbers don't lie, and if you look at the numbers and base your sales off of the history, off of, everything's got to make sense. It's got to have the right return on investment. It's got to have the right inventory turns. It's got to have the right pieces per week per store movement. And if it's got all that, then you can build up your plan. Sometimes what happens is, I think that this year is going to be the year for University of Arkansas, and I want to sell more Arkansas product in. But you know what? It's not the year. So maybe next year. But I think not falling in love with your own product is probably the mistake that I've made, and the advice that I'd give. You want to be passionate about it, but don't oversell it, because sell it in, and then the POS will speak for itself.
What are some things that you wish you would have done differently?
As a supplier, done differently, I'd say have better processes and procedures early on. Thought more about, okay, what does it take to get here to here to here to here? It's just, there's a lot of things that with experience now, we know what happens, but document those as they go. And that's
COE
probably
process that Walmart
absolutely correction of errors. Learn that from Walmart, and it's huge. But you still have to
do it when you're going through it,
absolutely.
Not trying to think back a year from now.
Exactly. The accountants have a great, and our accountants, they're great at looking back and telling you everything that went wrong. But the important piece is taking all that information and make sure you don't repeat the mistake. Or even better yet, make something better. It may not have been a mistake, but make it better.
And then what keeps you up at night?
It's different now in my career, but I think what keeps me up at night that I always am concerned about, I want to make sure we exceed the customer's expectations. I don't like falling short of that. And our production team does a great job, our accounting staff does a great job, our designers do a great job, our salespeople do a great job. Those are the things I used to worry about, but that's not a burden for me anymore. But what the overwhelming weight on my shoulders is I want to make sure that we exceed every customer's expectation. All
right, Doug Keller with Infinity Group, thank you very much for joining us. Saturday morning meeting, we'll be right back.
The biggest challenge of working with Walmart is they really expect everyone on the team to know their language, know their terminology, and know exactly how they do business. So that's where 8th and Walton really comes into play. It's the fastest way to get my team members up to speed.
Their business model is suppliers teaching suppliers. So when you come to 8th and Walton, you can count on having very experienced trainers who understand how suppliers work within Walmart, and they take advantage of that and incorporate that into their curriculum.
Our thanks to Burt, Hanna, and Doug Keller. Join us next week when we talk with Rick Dinsmore from NicePack about innovation, collaboration with Walmart, and the story of a launch. And Jeff Amrine, Director of University of Arkansas Technology Ventures, will be introducing Swimming in the Sea of Data, a new feature to help you manage and make sense of the vast amounts of information available. Now, as always, we appreciate your taking the time to join us. Now, if you have questions or comments, we would love to hear from you. I'm Andy Shook, and from all of us at Saturday Morning Meeting, thanks for watching.